Welcome to the Solid Signal Podcast for the week of April 9th, 2018. This is going to be an interesting week for me and the rest of the blog team because we are going for the first time to the National Association of Broadcasters convention held every year in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is an interesting convention that, as far as I can tell, and my broadcast industry friends have told me that has really evolved a lot over the last 15 to 20 years. I guess that back 20 years ago, it was the typical kind of, when you think of a convention, bunch of drunk guys walking around trying to find prostitutes and having a whole lot of fun while basically pretending that they were there for a serious reason. Now, I think that's probably a little bit extreme. I have a feeling that they did a lot more business back then than people are willing to say. But I say that because I'm going to be there in the middle of all of these folks who are there for some very serious reasons in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I want to make sure that I'm not stormed. I'll be honest with you all. I'm a little worried. Why? Well, in the last 6 or 7 years that I've been doing this podcast and the Solid Signal blog, I've probably said some very negative things about a lot of people who are going to be at this show. Not the people specifically, but the companies. After all, I've sounded off against content providers. I've called them greedy. I've called them cash grabbers. I've said that broadcast TV is falling in the ratings, which is true. It's not an argument, but honestly, I guess when I look back at my body of work, I've been pretty mean to these guys, and now I'm going to be in the middle of all of them. I guess where I can focus is on the idea of all the technology that's going to be there. ATSC 3.0, which is the new potential broadcast standard for the future, it's currently in test mode, and let me be clear, it has not been officially adopted by the United States. It may never be, but it may be, one never knows, and that broadcast standard is being extensively tested this week. I've reported on that a couple of times, and I expect it to be the talk of the show, not just among the people who put out the programs, but also with the highly technical folks who will be there as well. You see, there's a whole show floor full of very technical equipment, companies trying to get the attention of broadcasters who are going to be potentially putting in ATSC 3.0 compatible hardware. I'm expecting in the next 12 months that almost all new hardware is going to be ATSC 3.0 compatible, at least upgradable, because why would a broadcaster buy something at this point that wasn't? It doesn't mean that ATSC 3.0 is a foregone conclusion, but it's obviously come far enough that it's something that people have to think about when they're going to buy new equipment. I'm expecting to run into our friends from Televez who are there because they also have a very large broadcast television contingent. And I'm also expecting to run into some other friends there, friends from the satellite TV community, content provider community, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. It should be a very interesting show, and I'm going to come back and try to give you whatever information I can. As I have with other conventions, I'm going to try to report from the road, but as I've said way too many times, hotel Wi-Fi isn't always what you hope it to be, and even cellular connections can be pretty strained at these large conventions. Las Vegas is no stranger to large conventions, and they've done a much better job in the past of making sure that there is some accommodation for this kind of thing, but there's still a long way to go, especially in some of these hotels. Well, my friends, if any of you are going to the NAB show, I will see you there, and you can see if I end up being besieged by broadcasters who recognize my name from their fanatical devotion to the Solid Signal podcast, and as such are willing to take me to task for all of the harsh things that I've said about them in the past. I honestly don't think that's going to happen, but anything is possible. In the meantime, that about does it for this episode of the Solid Signal podcast, and I will be back with you next week. Have a great one.